6 women vanished beneath Glasgow's glow. 4 were silenced without justice. 1 predator was finally caged, 2 decades too late. Today, every forgotten heartbeat returns to the streets. We unspool a single blood-red thread, tracing it from mist-soaked Pollock Park in 1991 to Limefield's frozen woods in 2005, right up to the evidence freezers thawing now in 2025. Every alleyway whisper, every misfiled clue, every mother's unanswered prayer, laid bare.
Welcome to Crime Bite.
In this channel, we peel back the layers of those hidden realities, raw evidence, conflicting testimonies, and emotional pleas for help that too often come too late. By looking into these crime bites, you'll see firsthand how broken trust, systemic oversights, and chilling motives can converge into stories that rattle us to the core. If you find this exploration as vital as we do, be sure to like this video, subscribe, and click the notifications button. Together, we can shine a light on the cases that demand attention, ensuring every voice, especially the silenced, finds the audience it deserves. Glasgow exhaled a breath it had been holding for 19 years when, on the 28th of February 2024, the High Court foreman uttered 2 words: "Guilty, m'lord." 45-year-old Iain Packer was convicted of Emma Caldwell's murder and 25 additional sexual attacks, earning a life term with a 36-year minimum. Courtroom witnesses described the sentence as thunder after an airless hush, a crack that finally split open the city's collective shame. During the trial, detectives admitted they had ignored repeated 2005 warnings that Packer cruised Glasgow's red light district, luring women into his Mondeo and treating them like disposable trophies. Police Scotland's public apology was stark. Many other victims were failed. The case ripped the scab off a deeper wound. Between 1991 and 1998, 6 women, most street-based sex workers, were murdered. 4 cases remain unsolved. Advocates argue that the same apathy that let Packer roam also stifled every earlier investigation. Marginalized victims simply didn't fit the front page. Today, cold case detectives sift through decades-old exhibits. Cigarette butts sealed in brittle cellophane, fiber swatches tagged in fading ink, suspect lists typed on yellowing A4. Forensic techs whisper about touch DNA and hope the evidence remembers what human memory forgot. If one predator moved unchallenged for nearly 2 decades, how many others still haunt those neon puddles? Unnoticed, unrepentant, unstoppable. 23-year-old Diane McInally vanished from Blitzwood Square on a rain-slick Tuesday, 15th of October 1991. 48 hours later, a dog walker found her body among the copper leaves of Pollock Park. Wrist bruised, neck ligatured, fingernails broken from a desperate final fight. 2 men were arrested within days, questioned, and released. The case stalled, evidence evaporating like breath in the cold, as one retired officer later confessed. Friends recalled how Diane dreamed of training as a hairdresser, saving coins in a coffee jar she stored under her mattress. Those coins paid for her pauper's funeral when no relative could manage the cost. Her grave in Hawkhead Cemetery lay unmarked for years until outreach volunteers placed a simple stone: loved, remembered. 3 decades on, modern forensic experts propose ground-penetrating LiDAR sweeps and soil DNA plucks, arguing microscopic pollen on Diane's clothes might pinpoint a killer's garden. But budgets are thin, priorities thinner. Who walks the earth today carrying the secrets of Pollock Park, and will microscopic grains of dirt someday speak the confession he never will? In the chill dawn of 18th of April 1993, cleaners at the SECC noticed what they thought was an abandoned coat in shrubbery. It was Karen McGregor, 26, battered, strangled, hidden beneath rhododendron leaves. She had left the city's red light strip just after midnight, climbing into a dark hatchback witnesses later misidentified. The following year, prosecutors charged her husband Robert, citing marital woes and jealousy. After a 6-day trial, the jury returned Scotland's unique verdict: not proven. Robert walked free, the indictment, some say, forever fogging the scent for any other suspect. Tabloids fueled rumors of a single serial killer stitching Glasgow's vice roots together like strands of barbed wire, yet no task force materialized. Open-source researchers today noticed chilling overlap. Karen's body bore ligature marks nearly identical to those found on Diane McInley 18 months earlier, and, more disturbingly, bruising patterns echoed in 3 later murders. The links were whispered then, algorithm mapped now, but still unofficial, still uncharged. Cold case analysts see hope in probabilistic genotyping. Even degraded mixtures on Karen's clothing could yield a partial profile, enough to screen new arrestees. Yet double jeopardy rules loom. If Robert is innocent, a fresh prosecution needs new and compelling evidence. If he is guilty, the same barrier shields him. When justice falters on a technicality, does the killer hear the courtroom's silence as an invitation to strike again? For 2 uneasy years, the killings seemed to stop, yet the streets never felt safer. Every Friday night, sex workers pooled coins to photocopy the bad date list, a grim newsletter naming violent clients. Plates and descriptions were scrawled on beer mats, takeaway menus, anything that would hold ink. Outreach volunteer Sadie Law begged precinct bosses for foot patrols in Anderston and Blitheswood, but the answer was always the same: budget freeze, try again next quarter. Rumors linked the unsolved murders: matching thumbprint bruises, identical nylon ligature burns, bodies left posed as though by someone almost clinical in method. Yet, in a pre-DNA database era, patterns remain superstition until proven in court. Crucial witnesses vanished when asylum claims failed. Others refused statements without a promise of safe housing the city could not give. Detectives shuffled copies of copies, suspicion drifting through alleyways like cigarette smoke, visible, pungent, impossible to grasp. How many whispered warnings must echo off tenement walls before the system admits a predator is real? And how many echoes were lost in those gap-year silences? On the night of 13th of June 1995, 25-year-old Leona McGovern left the taxi rank on St. Vincent Street and disappeared into Anderston's warren of lanes. At sunrise, her body lay behind the Arts Center, throttled and stabbed 17 times. Detectives followed a blood trail that stopped at smear marks on a brick wall, then nothing. Evening newscasts flashed her school portrait. That was how her mother and siblings learned she was gone. A 51-year-old regular client, George Walker, faced trial. Prosecutors mapped his phone records, defense lawyers produced an alternate suspect, and the jury found him not guilty. Court whispers spoke of contaminated exhibits, a key fiber sample lost when an evidence freezer failed, witness statements recorded on analog tapes later wiped for reuse. Cold case scientists believe vacuum metal deposition, a 2020s technique that lifts decades-old DNA from porous brick, could still find skin cells where Leona's hands slammed the wall. Funding hurdles remain, but the bricks keep their quiet vigil, spattered histories sealed in lime and paint. Which microscopic trace, caught beneath Leona's nails or trapped in mortar dust, still waits to name her killer? 26-year-old Jacqueline Gallagher vanished from Glasgow's city centre after taking a client's offer of a quick run out of town. 4 days later, on the 24th of June 1996, school children discovered a carpet-wrapped bundle at the bowling bus stop. The post-mortem catalogued over 100 wounds: fractures, blunt force trauma, cigarette burns, strangulation. Senior detectives called it rage distilled. A decade of leads fizzled until 2004, when regular client George Johnstone was charged. The jury, unconvinced by degraded fibers and a partial palm print, delivered Scotland's third verdict: not proven. Johnstone left court a free man. Double jeopardy law now shields him unless new evidence appears. Modern labs propose next-generation sequencing to rebuild the partial print and extract mitochondrial DNA from Jacqueline's hair, techniques unheard of in 1996. Meanwhile, her mother's ritual continues. Flowers at the stop, a whispered apology to the daughter no inquiry can resurrect. She told reporters, "The bus still comes every hour. The justice bus never came at all." When a verdict is stamped not proven, does the real judgment echo only in a mother's footsteps? And will science ever catch up to her grief? 21-year-old Tracy Wylde juggled night work in Glasgow's red light district and daytime motherhood to a toddler she called "my wee angel." On the 21st of November 1997, neighbors heard a muted thud in her cramped Barmallook flat, but shrugged it off as another row in the stairwell. By dawn, Tracy lay on the living room floor, strangulation grooves at her throat, signs of sexual assault, her infant daughter crying from the cot. Detectives collected semen swabs, bagged fibers, but the file cooled with the millennium, and slid into the warehouse of unsolved vice murders. In July 2018, Chen was arrested for a street assault. Routine DNA sampling, standard in Scotland since 2004, lit up the database like a Christmas tree, a direct hit on semen preserved from Tracy's body. Forensic scientists described the match as 1 in a billion. In April 2019, he pled guilty. The judge imposed life with 20-year minimum, a sentence Tracy's family called a slap in the face, but finally a name to curse. If one forgotten swab solved a 22-year mystery, what other revelations lie dormant in those silver-doored freezers, waiting for someone to break the seal? Margaret Laferty, 27, left her flat on the 28th of February 1998, clutching a lighter and £3.50 in coins. She promised her flatmate she'd be back before first light. 16 hours later, a cyclist spotted her naked body half hidden in West Regent Lane. Ligature bruises, defensive gashes, one high-heeled boot missing. She was the 7th sex worker slain in 7 years, a statistic that turned panic into near certainty of a serial hunter. Police detained 19-year-old Brian Donnelly within a week. Witnesses had seen her climb into his Fiesta. Fibers from his jacket matched threads on her bra. In a rare display of speed, prosecutors secured a life sentence by October. Yet many street women whispered that Donnelly felt too young, too frightened to fit the pattern. Previous victims showed clinical staging, while Margot's murder screamed frenzy. Investigators quietly closed overlapping inquiry lines, relieved, perhaps, to tick one box on a board of failure. Did Donnelly act alone? Or did the quick conviction let detectives shelve threads that might have led to a still-moving predator? Emma Caldwell, 27, left Glasgow's Govanhill on the 4th of April 2005 to meet a client. 5 weeks later, dog walkers found her nude body in Limefield Woods, 40 miles away. Sex workers repeatedly named one man, Iain Packer, a customer infamous for roughness, but detectives pursued a theory involving Turkish cafe owners, jailing 4 innocent men and losing crucial hours. Packer admitted meeting Emma, but walked free. Only in 2021 did a cold case unit, armed with digital cell site mapping and retested fibers, see the mosaic. Packer's history of rape stretching to 1990. Convicted in February 2024 of Emma's murder and 25 other violent crimes, he received Scotland's second longest sentence, 36-year minimum. Emma's mother, Margaret, told reporters, "Police indifference killed my daughter twice, once in flesh, again in delay." How many names would be missing from Glasgow's roll call of the dead if every Emma Caldwell had been believed the first time she begged for help? Public fury after the Packer verdict forced Police Scotland's major crime review team to reopen every file from Diane McInally to Jacqueline Gallagher. Livingstone calls them live inquiries, but warns that Scotland's double jeopardy bar means previously acquitted suspects can only be retried on new and compelling proof. Proof now resting on next-gen forensics, touch DNA, vacuum metal deposition, whole genome sequencing. Activists demand more than microscopes, a judge-led public inquiry, legal immunity for sex worker witnesses, and ring-fenced funding for outreach, bad date databases. Scotland's First Minister has signaled openness, calling the Packer scandal a toxic culture moment for policing. Meanwhile, mothers lay fresh flowers, technicians thaw 30-year-old swabs, and retired officers confront notebooks scribbled with clues they once ignored. As detectives unseal the envelopes of history, will Glasgow's conscience, and ours, be brave enough to face the voices that still whisper from those darkened lanes? We've traced a blood-stained timeline, from Diane's autumn leaves in Pollock Park to Emma's rain-soaked grave in Limefield Woods, right up to the evidence boxes now being pried open in 2025. Their stories remind us that justice isn't only delivered in a courtroom, it's safeguarded every time a witness is believed, every time a cold case envelope is unsealed, every time a community refuses to let a name fade. Now the investigation extends beyond Glasgow's police archives. It reaches all of us. The neighbors who might recall a half-forgotten detail, the commuters who pass memorial murals, the viewers who keep these women alive by sharing their stories. Your voice can help tip cold leads into hot evidence and keep pressure on authorities to follow through. If you believe every victim deserves a name and every name deserves justice, then stand with us. Like this video if these women's stories moved you. Every thumbs up boosts visibility and keeps their cases in the public eye. Subscribe for more deep dive true crime investigations that amplify unheard voices and hold power to account. Click the notification bell so you never miss an update. New evidence, court developments, and survivor resources drop here first. Comment below, did something in tonight's timeline spark a memory or a theory? Share it responsibly in the thread. You never know which detail could matter. Share this episode across your socials. The algorithm forgets, but real people remember. Because when the streetlights dim and the headlines fade, it's our collective vigilance that keeps the darkness from swallowing another name.